All right, it's time to look into what's trending in employment law. Lawyer, you're on the clock.
All right, so Phil, unless you've been living under a rock or alternatively have just not been paying attention to our This Week at Work show, barring an injunction, which seems less and less likely with each passing day, then on July 1, that's next week, the salary threshold for FLSA exemptions for executive, administrative, and professional employees will increase from $684 per week. That's $35,568 per year. That will increase to $844 per week, or $43,888 per year. Also, the threshold for highly compensated employees will increase from $107,432 per year to $132,964 per year. Again, barring an injunction, there will be another round of increases effective January 1, 2024. But it's looking at this point like, we're on June 27th, and Monday, I believe, is the 1st. And so this new rule is supposed to go into effect next week. So the clock is really ticking down on this. Again,
nothing
barring
nothing coming from our friends down in Texas or anywhere of any plans to intercede this.
Yeah, really good question, Phil. So when a similar rule was supposed to take effect back in 2016, the clock was paused at the last moment by a federal judge in Texas who found that the DOL had exceeded its authority under the FLSA by making salary rather than job duties the controlling factor for whether an employee is an exempt executive, administrative, or professional employee. So this past Monday, just a few days ago, another federal judge down in Texas heard arguments on a motion to block implementation of the new rule. And in comments during the hearing, the judge reportedly expressed skepticism about the new rule, suggesting that a repeat of 2016 may well be in the works. But again, today's Thursday, and we've got today, tomorrow. I guess perhaps he could issue an injunction over the weekend, but barring an injunction, the rule will go into effect on Monday.
All right. Well, I know all the RA members are prepared. They've been blowing up our hotline, and we've been giving lots of advice in that space. I'm sure you and Ogletree team has been doing the same, and it's a huge impact for some of our employers, particularly taking a big impact on our not-for-profits more than anyone, from what I can tell. It was our conversation yesterday in our roundtable for about an hour and a half with Mikey Mack. He was in town and meeting with the leadership chief HR roundtable, and it was definitely part of our topic there. Yeah,
Phil, it is interesting though. I and frankly the rest of my firm, anecdotally, we're not seeing a ton of calls on this, and I think that it's interesting because I think in the wake of COVID, remember, during COVID, salaries bumped up tremendously, and compensation went up, and there was the Great Resignation, and people were having to pay people more money to continue working. I think that there sort of was an adjustment that took place where, this roughly $8,000 difference per year in the salary threshold. I don't know. To me, it seems like a lot of it's been taken care of. I know that we're still seeing obviously some calls, but it's not like it was in 2016.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth to that, Bert. With wage inflation, it may have already taken us there, and it might be why there's such a late delay, if any delay at all, in filing an injunction. But what I can say is, like, the not-for-profits that that kind of rely on program managers by title, people who are running small not-for-profit programs for large not-for-profits, are titled directors and managers, but they don't get paid a lot, but they are definitely directing and managing. So their job duties are fine.
Yep.
It's just the salary that, they receive from the state or the federal government or their donors. So, their salary level is low, but the duties are high. And that really creates problems, sometimes multiplied in the millions as it relates to their staff. It's quite significant.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens, and I want everyone to make as much money as they can, all the right way, doing all the right things. But I think our AIM members are ready to go.
All right.
Good spot.
All right. Well, I'm
What
going to
else you
shift
got,
gears.
Bert?
Yeah, I'm going to shift gears on you, talk about two different but related topics. And just this week, our Eighth Circuit, remember, we're in the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals for the federal circuits. Our Eighth Circuit declined to block the EEOC's regulations implementing the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, while several state attorneys general challenged the dismissal of their suit targeting the rule's abortion coverage. We all remember, of course, that the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, the regulations implementing this were published many months ago, and the PWFA went into effect June 27, 2023. The regulations actually went into effect just June 18th of 2024. So just about 9 days ago. And so there was a lawsuit challenge. 17 attorneys general had challenged the EEOC's regulations implementing the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. That case was dismissed. It's now on appeal. And they asked the Eighth Circuit to issue an injunction barring the enforcement of those regulations while the appeal is pending. And the Eighth Circuit has decided that they're not going to block the regulations during the course of the appeal. And so I think that tells us several things. Number one, that the Eighth Circuit judges don't see that ultimately those 17 state attorney generals are going to prevail in the litigation. The lawsuit was dismissed at the trial level by a U.S. district judge, basically asserting that those states lacked standing to knock down the EEOC's rule. And so I think the Eighth Circuit is saying by not enjoining the regulations, they're saying we don't think that you're likely to prevail on the merits of the claim because you probably don't have standing. So just a reminder that the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act regulations are in effect. They went into effect June 18th. They remain in effect right now. And that's the guidance we have. And then that just does touch on another subject, Phil, that just because of timeliness, 1 year ago today, on June 27th, 2023, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act actually went into effect. And so we've been dealing with this new law for a year. And I will tell you that, again, anecdotally, well, from myself and then anecdotally through others with my firm, we're not getting a ton of calls on PWFA related issues. And
we are not on that one either. No.
Yeah. And I think that's a good sign that employers are dealing well with this issue. And I think it also means that employers had been dealing with it well before the law even went into effect. And so,
well, Bert, I got to say that's got probably a lot to do with your lawyer on the clock segment, keeping people up to date. You know, our listener viewership now, I mean, it's up like 5 to 7 times the viewership that we had when we were at our peak just a few years ago. So my guess is it's because of your updates that we're able to keep people ready and informed and in position to manage their business more effectively. So you just keep it up, Bert. You're doing a good job for us here.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate that. I think you're self-aggrandizing me a little too much, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
but
we'll take
yeah,
it. I think take whatever you can get. That's what I was always taught.
I think my point really is that I think that probably even before the passage of this law, that employers had been doing a good job accommodating pregnancy-related health conditions, probably under the ADA and just out of a reasonable accommodation approach. And so I think that while the law is great and it was a bipartisan effort to pass this law, I think that in reality, most employers, most private employers had been doing a pretty darn good job of accommodating pregnancy-related issues in the workplace, even without the passage of the law. So from my perspective, that just shows that employers generally are out there trying to do the right thing, and most of the time they get it right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But I'm still going to give you a pat on the back there, Bert.
Thank you.
You're usually out in front of these and give us great guidance. And I know from our listeners' comments, they're very well appreciated. Anything else from you, lawyer on the clock?
Nope. I think just gearing up for the holiday next week. That's it, Phil.
All right. Well, remember, don't hold those fireworks in your hand when you light them, and run fast. All right.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues. Forward our invites. Share the link, aimea.org/This Week at Work, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you are. And you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.